Hi guys, thanks for tuning in for episode 6 of the HeartRock podcast. We have a special guest today, my Aunt Karman. Very exciting. So we're here today.
Sorry.
No,
Here we are.
this is great. This is what it's about, being natural and talking about, just having conversations. But because you both are here in the same room, I know, isn't that great?
I'm so excited.
Finally. You guys have had a really different and long journey together, separately, as sisters. And I can say from my observation, you both are each other's closest sibling. And I just think, one, that's really wonderful, and two, that deserves, a story to share. So I think where I'd like to start is like getting a glimpse of the difference between your guys' childhoods. But what did that look like at the beginning? Because I know it wasn't that way always.
How did it all begin with you?
I was born in Spotswood. And not Harrisonburg, Spotswood, Greenville, Spotswood. And I lived there till I was like sometime in elementary school. And then we moved to, I don't know, what do you call where Karman Hill is?
Church Drive.
Karman
Is that Church Drive? Yeah, Karman.
Is that what you're named after?
No, it was named after me.
Oh.
Yeah.
That sounded so bad.
It's true.
But no,
This is cute
so
little hill.
dad and mom bought some land when mom was like getting into real estate and all that. They bought like a big hill, and they broke it up into like 5 or 6 different like lots. Like I keep feeling I'm saying like a lot. So in like 2 to like 5 acre lots. And all these houses would be on there, or not all these houses. It was like he built all the houses. He developed it, and they could. From what I remember, the story was they couldn't think of a name, so they just said, "Let's just name it after Karman." So it's Karman Hill.
What?
Yes.
Okay, normally that's like the opposite. Like kids are named after a place, but a place being named after their kids. I think that's awesome.
Yes. So
I think
that's how the story goes.
I don't have a hill.
I got made fun of it, but I was in elementary school and middle school. I got reamed for it. So
made fun of it?
yes, yeah. Oh yeah. So it's fine.
That's terrible.
No, it's okay. So it was fine, but I got made fun of for it. And anyway, so yeah, I don't know. My parents were both. Mom was married before. Dad was married before. To your mom, and dad and Betty had you, and then my mom and her ex-husband had my brother Steve, and then they got divorced, and then they got together and had me, and well, this was all before we moved to Karman Hill, obviously. So yeah, I don't know. We grew up, and I kind of grew up. I mean, Stevie was 14-ish years ahead of me, so we weren't like, we didn't, he was completely doing his thing with horses, and Kim lived close by, and we're closer in age, and you would come every other weekend, and I just thought she was so cool. I loved it when she would come over. Oh my God.
Like her coming over, was it like,
I loved it.
my sister's coming?
Yes,
Or
and
like,
I think she was completely annoyed with it. I felt like when she,
I was equally like goo-goo over you.
Oh,
What's the age difference again?
Just 5, I think.
yeah.
Or just not even. I don't know, I'm terrible with math.
I am
feel like
too.
as a
I'm 44.
5-year-old-
I'm
45.
43. I'm
I'm
43.
I'm 48, so you're.
But I'm turning 44 this year.
Mama, you're 49.
Oh, sorry, 49. Okay.
Anyway, whatever. Like
5
5 years. We'll
years.
say 5 years. We'll go with
I
that.
feel like as a 5-year-old little girl, though, you would be like, it's a baby. Like,
Yeah,
Oh, I was
I'm
so
sure.
excited because
Yeah.
I will never forget when my mom woke me up at night. I was asleep and she was like, "Your dad's on the phone," and I went out and there was a phone cubby at the end of this hallway, and I said, "Hey, Dad," and I was 5, and
Yeah.
he's like, "I just want to tell you, you have a baby sister." And I just remember like you don't even know what that means, but like all of a sudden you have this like
Baby doll.
yeah,
Boy.
that's yours. That you think is yours. Like,
I have no recollection of any of this.
oh my gosh, it was amazing. It was amazing. And yeah, I remember going back to bed and laying there and looking at the stars and just dreaming that I had this sister. And then, yeah. And then when she was little, when she was a baby, and I'd go to my dad's on the weekends, my bedroom was downstairs and their bedroom was upstairs. This was when they lived in Spotswood. Everybody would go to bed at night, and after everybody was asleep and the house was silent, I would tiptoe up the stairs. I know I've told you this before, but like I would tiptoe up the stairs and sleep under her crib. Under her crib. And wait. And somehow, I don't know how, but like I would wake up before everybody got up and go back downstairs and go back to bed.
That is so sweet.
Like I just wanted to, like she was mine.
Yeah.
Like, it was so weird, but I just had this sister
Got
that
this,
like
primal instinct.
Yeah.
At 5 years old.
it was so weird. I mean, I was probably, that must have been, I guess, 6 or something at that. But anyway, so I did that while she was in her crib. And then she got this other bed, and I would do the same thing. I'd sleep beside it. But anyway, yeah.
Did you not let her get in bed with you?
Well,
No, Karman.
we just,
me?
bedtime was like everybody to their bed,
I don't remember.
As you got older, maybe?
As we got older,
Oh, yeah,
when we lived up in Karman Hill, I remember more when you were in high school. I have more of those memories. Because you were in high school and you would come over and you'd drive over and we'd have to wash Dad's truck every week and
Really?
wash and wax a lot of times. Not wax every time, but we had to wash it every time. Oh, yeah. And it was funny because if there was one spot, and it could have been this big, that we missed, we'd have to rewash the whole thing.
What?
Which is good.
His work truck?
Yeah.
yeah.
Or whatever. Yeah, he only at that time. Yeah, his main truck. It was good because I think it taught us both.
Yeah.
Back then we cussed him, but
Yeah.
we didn't like him at all for that. But
Not to his
Now.
face, of course.
not to his face. Oh no, we dear Lord, no. But now I think it gave us
Oh, such great work
ethic,
value.
and do it right the first time.
Just do it right the first time.
Just do it right the first time, and you don't have to do it
I
again.
can't count how many times you told me that.
If you just take the extra 30
Like-
seconds and scrub a little extra, you don't have to go and redo the whole thing.
It saves you hours.
So in hindsight, yes,
Yeah.
it was a good lesson.
Was it? Do you feel like that was kind of like an area where you guys could bond as like sisters? Like,
No.
Yeah.
No, yeah. No, yes. Yes.
I was
and
like,
no.
yes.
There's certain things. Yeah. Well, yes
What?
and no, because she was bossy.
It was not bossy.
She was so bossy. You were so. We would have to, after every meal, we have to wash and dry the dishes, clean up the dishes. Mom didn't want me setting the table or doing nothing like that. But when we were done, y'all do the dishes, wash and dry. I'm older. I get to wash. You dry and put away. That's what and I'm not here all the time. You get to wash when I'm not here. I'm like, exactly. I have to do it all when you're not here. But somehow she always won.
I don't know how.
I remember that. I was arguing, and one time Mom said, "Y'all two be quiet and just get to work." But yeah, no, I had a great relationship with my parents. I had a great child. I can't really say anything bad. I had a great childhood, and my parents worked hard, and they're both still hard workers in their own rights, and they spoiled me, and they did.
do you feel like they spoiled you based off of like the childhood that they had?
Mom grew up working. Mom was a worker, and Mom to this day she's gonna go she's gonna go until she is till she's walking into heaven. Dad's a workaholic too, but they grew up completely different. My mom grew up like she had work all the time. You know, that's just her, and that's her mentality. And Dad grew up more like me, spoiled. Kind of got everything he wanted. But granted, he had a good work ethic too. So I don't know.
You grew up on a farm, right?
Who?
Papa?
And then until he moved to Stanton, and then when he graduated from Lehigh, when he lived in Stanton, I don't think they went back to the farm. I don't know. That would be a question for him, because I don't really know that. But yeah, I had a good. We had completely different childhoods, though. I mean, completely different.
Yeah.
You know, but it was nice when she came over because I don't know. We fought. Yeah. But we got over it in 10 seconds. It was one of those things. You know
I
what
don't
I
even
mean?
remember fighting.
I remember one time I hit you in the face and you had braces and one of the brackets broke loose. And I didn't mean to, we were fighting. I was like, ah! Like, I don't know what I did. I don't remember, like, something along those lines. And your bracket moved and was moving. You go, I'm going to tell Dad, because that's going to cost like $500 to fix. And I was like, don't tell Dad. Like, I'm crying. She's like, I'm telling him.
That's like poor sister.
I know. It was funny. I mean, I don't know.
That did come out of me, I'm sure.
Yeah.
I remember a couple sister moments that
that
I would have that like manipulative upper hand, you know.
That's fun though. I was
You
terrified.
have Papa and my mom and you like.
Yes, I was terrified of my father. Oh gosh, and my mother. All my mother has to do is look at me sometimes. You know. Yeah, Dad will say stuff. Mom, she just don't have to say anything. She'll cut you with her eyes, you know. So,
Man, yeah, female's pretty quiet. And
She
I can
is.
imagine her looks are like, you know,
Deathly.
crazy.
Business.
yes,
Business.
yeah.
Do you feel like you
Yeah.
inherited? Like, what traits do you feel like you inherited from or not inherited? Because, like, I mean, I know B-Mom and Papa, but you are just like, you are your own person.
I am. I'm a mixture.
Yeah.
I'm talkative like Dad. I'm more outgoing like Dad. But the older I get, I'm becoming more of my mother. I'm starting to not give a crap like my mom does. Mom doesn't care what people think about her at all. She just doesn't care. She knows who she is. She's very, and I'm thankful that I'm getting more of that.
Yeah.
I didn't have that. I was always a people pleaser. And not that Dad's technically a people pleaser. I couldn't say that about him. But me, it grew up I wanted people to be happy. And I would down myself to make everybody else happy. I feel like that's how I was anyway. Maybe somebody would tell you different. But but yeah, I don't know. I'm starting to. I think a lot of people do. When you get in your 40s and late 30s, early 40s, you start caring less about what other. And as long as you know who you are and who you are in Christ, and you know, especially if if you have Jesus in your life, that is a huge, you know.
Upper leg to not caring and just like walking in your own path. And
He knows who I am. He knows what I do, and he knows I'm not perfect, and but he knows I'm trying.
Exactly. On that, like, tell us how you found God. Like, I know that.
Okay.
I knew that like your mom, Papa, like your parents, were Christian, and I know that their walk with the Lord has changed over time as well. But like, what was your upbringing in that sense, and like, when do you feel like you really knew God?
Oh, I can remember the exact moment.
Aww.
My kids were little. My kids are 14 months apart. And Gabriel was a baby.
They're close.
Yeah, awesome. Gabe was a whoopsie. I mean, he was a whoopsie to me, not to God, but he was a whoopsie to me. The best whoopsie I've ever had, though. But anyways, I just remember Gabe was small. I mean, I I have it written down in one of my Bibles, the exact date. So, but I know he was under a year old. I can remember that. So that would have been about we'll just say 17 years ago. A church in near Lexington was having a revival for like a week. I didn't go to the church. We actually weren't going to church at the time. I was married to my ex-husband, and he worked every night or whatever, and he was just never there at nights. So I had both kids, and I was just doing the mom thing, and my best friend at the time, who's still a dear friend, she was going. Her and her husband were going. Her and her now ex-husband too were going to this church, and they were having a revival, and it was like 4 nights, maybe. I want to say, I don't remember, but let's say it's 4 nights. And she was already going to that church, and she's like, "You need to come to the revival." And I'm like, "No, I'm busy. I mean, I've been working all day. I got 2 babies. Right. Like, you know, neither one of them was walking at the time. They're, you know, Gwyneth's crawling around, Gabe's crying. Like, it was a lot." And I was like, "No." And I just remember thinking, "No, you don't understand. I've got too much going on, and I'm basically a single mom, for all intents and purposes." And finally, she invited me every night. And then the last night, she said, "It's the last night. I just really want you to come, please." Wow. And I don't know. I was like, "Fine, I will go." She's like, "Yeah," because I think it was like 2 hours long or something, or, you know, she's like, "It's like 2 hours, but there's a nursery for the kids. You can put the kids there. You know, it'll be fine. You know, my daughter goes in there," which her daughter is like 4 months older than my son, or something, 3-4 months older than Gabe. You know, they'll go in there. It'll be fine. We can see, like, if there's a problem, they'll let us know. And I'm like, "All right, fine, I'll go." Went very reluctantly. Did not want to drive 20 minutes down the road to go sit through a 2-hour church service. Right. You know, I went, and I think the evangelist's name was, I want to say, Ken Freeman. And all I remember is just having like this feeling, like just being, you know, and I don't remember what he said, or I couldn't tell you what he said. All I remember was like, "I love Jesus." You know, like, I don't know, I don't know. You know what I mean? Like, you know, if you've had that experience of being saved, you know, everybody has their own story to tell. But that's what it was for me too. Right. Like watched. Yeah, like just, whoa. Yeah. You know, and I just was crying, and anyways, me and a bunch of people. I mean, and then after that, I just was so thankful. I'm, to this day, if it wasn't for that, I mean, who knows where I'd be right now? Right, you know, I mean, I could be, who knows, still in a bad marriage, and still, who knows where I'd be. And I just remember thinking when I got home, I've got to find a church. And I went to that church a couple times, and I remember telling my ex-husband, "We need to go to church," and he's like, yeah, he wasn't thrilled about it, because he wasn't at the time saved. And I don't know if he is now. I don't know. I can't. But anyways, so it's hard when you're and you're a baby Christian, and you're so passionate, and your partner's not. You know, and you're like, I need to do this without them, but maybe I should. And like, how do I? You feel torn. Yeah. Like, we should go as a family, and then you're thinking, maybe I can fix him, and you know, you're just all the thoughts in your head, and you know, and. Yeah, so anyways, that's how, and my story anyway, that's how and it's been a journey, a big journey. Yeah, thank God, praise God that it,
was it hard growing up, like, would you say that you thought that you knew God?
Yes. I would say, I would tell people, "Oh, I'm a Christian, I love Jesus," you know, but you know, and, you know, you learn that you can go to church your whole life. It doesn't mean that you're saved. Yeah. You know, you can go through the motions and do everything, but do you, but I didn't have a personal relationship with God until then. And now I'm like, I feel like, help me. He's probably like, oh gosh. No, he's not. I know he's like, come to me. But, sometimes, how you feel like you're like, it's me again.
Yeah. Knock, knock.
For the 55th time today.
Yeah.
Need some help.
Yeah.
Again.
Yeah.
Or whatever.
Man.
Yeah. So, yeah.
That's wonderful. I think that's awesome though that you just had like that feeling of that washing, because it's so intense.
It is.
It's so intense, and there's no words to describe it, and like you only know it if you've like experienced that, like.
Yeah. And not that you have to experience that to be saved,
No,
because there's so many, but that I think I needed to get knocked over the head with a frying pan.
Exactly.
Is
That's
what needed to happen, and God knew that.
Yeah.
It's like, okay.
Yeah, you really, like just for some people whose like will is just so ironed shut to, the idea of that. Like you just said, you need a frying pan. Like for me, it was it was seeing Zoe on the bed, not there anymore, but I could feel her everywhere, except for where her body was laying.
Almost like an out-of-body experience or something.
Exactly, and I could feel her everywhere, and it was just that, like, everything made sense. The washing, like, just that, like, vivid haze of, like, the veil just being torn, and you understand that, like, God is real, heaven is real, like, Jesus was real. Everything he said was real. The
everything.
truth is, like, and it's funny because I felt like for me, I had not read the Bible at that point, but everything that God represents made sense in that moment. And when I would, go on to read the Bible as I became, stronger in my faith, I would always rely on that feeling that I felt when I didn't understand Scripture or got frustrated at Scripture. I would refer back to that moment of, receiving Jesus.
Right.
And being like, okay, just like build off of that feeling. And it helped it make everything made sense.
Yeah.
You were talking about you found Jesus in your previous marriage. What was that like, having, God in your life and being passionate about it in your previous marriage? And like, how did that change your relationships? Maybe your relationship with my mom, your friends, your kids. I don't know. I just feel like when Jesus comes in our lives, it really alters.
It changes a lot of things. There's several. Wait, is this for me or your mom?
Yeah,
I'm sorry.
There you go.
For me, I mean, I had a, looking back, I had a very toxic marriage for, married 17 years with him 20 years. And I'm just so thankful that pretty early on in our marriage, I found Jesus. And because, like I said, I don't know what I would have done. Yeah. It helped me get through things. It helped me. A lot of stuff happened in our marriage, not good. And it helped me divorce him. And I know that sounds crazy, and any like Christian that doesn't believe in divorce, but that same peace that I felt when I got saved, we had an argument, and I felt that same peace literally wash over me when I was like, I can't do this anymore, God. I can't do this. I can't be treated the way I'm being treated, and just all the different types of abuse that I was enduring, just different things. I was like, I can't do this. And I literally, and I was in the shower when this happened. I don't know if that's too graphic or not, but I was. And I was crying, and I just felt literally and figuratively, I was in the shower, but literally just peace wash over me, like God say, you're good. Just figure, I've got you. You've, you've tried, you've put in the work, and so it's fun. It's funny that, so when I say that, some people are like, oh, I get it. And some people are like, well, God doesn't like divorce, and I mean, I didn't, but I'm like, well, you can, but I know God's with me, and I know God is for me, and He knows my heart. He knows I tried. It ain't like I just like, I don't like you no more. No, yeah. I fought for my marriage. I fought for 20 years. I tried, but if both ends aren't working together, and yeah, it's just, yeah. So, and
God walked you through that.
God walked me through everything. And I just, like in the summertime, I have a pool. And in the summertime, I swim laps. And I remember that summer when we separated in May, the first week of May of 2022. And every day in the spring and summer and early fall, I swim laps for exercise, and that's my prayer time. That's my exercise. I just get my vitamin D. That's my time. That's my me time. And in so many mornings, when I'm praying, I'm swimming laps, praying in my head, and I'm crying, and I just remember praying, Lord, this was after, several months after we'd separated, whenever I find another relationship, Lord, whenever that is, whether it be this year or 10 years from now, let it be your perfect design. Like, let it be, please. And don't give me anything that I don't know. I can't remember how I worded it at the time, but
give me what I need.
Don't give me any more than what I need. Just give me what I need. And in my brain, I had my thoughts of what I was going to marry. Oh, absolutely. Oh, I had that down to a science. I knew what he looked like in my head, but I didn't. Lo and behold, that was not what.
Wait, can you share a little bit what you thought and what God was like?
Oh, yeah. I mean, I was 41. I was going to find me, like 35-year-old, and, I had all these things, and I, no,
he's going to have some fun.
Yeah, my husband's older than Greg. Well, not by much. He's 4 months. Yeah. But still. He's, 14 years older than me. And
he's
I never got on any dating apps or none of that. Oh no.
That's great.
No, my ego wouldn't let me do that. Because I say that, but also I wanted it to be a God thing. 100%. I truly, if it's meant to be, God's going to make it happen. And that's just where it goes. I did have a few people say, oh, go get on this. I'm like,
you just wanted to wait.
No, I'm not ready. And plus I wasn't ready. I went on 2 dates while I was single in my little single period. And, that was it. I just was like, nah. And then no. And I just remember thinking, what, it's just going to happen by circumstance. And it did, and yeah. I went, my best friend, I was in a low point, later in the fall of that year. I was just not, it was hard, navigating through a divorce and having 2 teenage kids and them being confused and still just navigating. Well, my daughter was fine. My son had a harder time with everything. And he didn't know. My daughter knew why we were getting divorced and almost was relieved, in a weird way that she saw things she shouldn't have seen. And so she understood. When we told her we were getting divorced, she was almost like, good. And our son was just, he never saw anything. He was just always was able to be shielded from everything. So he didn't understand why, why are you doing this, Mom? Why did you kick Dad out? Why, So anyways, yeah, so I was in a low point, just dealing with all that and trying to figure out how to not be negative about, just trying to figure life out. And my best friend was like, let's just go out for a night. Let's just go somewhere. Let's go to a bar. Let's go. And I'm like, I do not want to go to a bar. Yeah. That is the last place I want to go. and it was a beautiful, like it was like in the 70s that day. It was in the late fall. It was just happened to be a really nice day. And she's like, you know what? It's supposed to be nice, or not that day, just that week. It was a nice week. And she was like, this weekend's supposed to be nice. Let's go out Saturday night. And I was like, well, I'm not going to a bar. Let's just go have dinner somewhere. And we ended up going to a place called Stablecraft over in Augusta County and had dinner. And my now husband was there with some of his high school friends eating dinner. And
did you know of him? Or?
I knew of him.
Yeah.
Never spoke a word to him, and it's funny because we only live 5 minutes apart, which is so funny that we live so close and never ran into each other really, and I've never spoken to him. I mean, he's a farmer. We have nothing in common. Nothing.
I know, when I heard that your boyfriend was a farmer, I was like,
I know. Everybody has that.
God gave you what you needed.
That I didn't know I needed. I just was like, and I was going to pay for my one cider I had that night, and he apparently spotted me and walked by me, and apparently I didn't move my eyes. I was talking to my friend, and he was like, I even walked by your table, He told me, I found this out later, obviously. I wasn't looking.
No,
I just wasn't looking. I was there with my best friend, and I got in line to pay for my cider, and he came up behind me, and I remember seeing him when I was walking up to pay for my cider, and I actually thought he was on a date with one of the women at the table, because it was a table of them. So whatever, I didn't think nothing. But I remember his I think he was drinking a beer, I'm sure, and it was half full. Mm-hmm. And I just remember that, and I don't know why I remember that, but. And I'm, in line, and then I pay for my cider, and I turn around, and he's like right behind me, and I'm like, hi. Like, I didn't know, because he was like right there, and I'm like, what do? It's kind of the awkward thing. So yeah. And anyways, yeah. So yeah, and he was like, hi, and I'm thinking, why is he in line for a beer? His beer's full, He must be getting one for his date, I'm thinking. So we chatted for a few seconds, less than a minute probably, and we left, and. We were leaving, and my best friend, she's like, who was that? And I told her his name, and she was like, yeah, he's looking at you. And I'm like, no, what? He's an old farmer. That's what I said. No. And then, yeah.
How'd you see him again?
So about 4 or 5 days later, I get a friend request on Facebook. So embarrassing. Screenshot it and sent it to my best friend before I even accepted it. I was like, look. She's like, I told you. I was like, no, it's just a friend request. And so he sent me a friend request, and I was like, fine, accept. And then we just messaged each other, and he's like, well, can I call you? Because he's not much of a... He's working. He ain't got time to sit there and chat all day. He's busy, but, he has time to apparently send a friend request real quick. but then he's like, can I call you tonight? And I'm like, yeah, make it after 10, though, because my kids I don't want my kids to know, because anyways. Enough going on right now. They don't need that thrown in the mix. So, yeah, and then... It organically happened, but it's just funny that, God gave me, He grounds me, God, the point of all that is that He gave me somebody that is just honest, doesn't change who he is, he's loyal, he's the same, he would be the same around y'all as he would be with a crowd of 200 people or just me and him. Mm-hmm. He doesn't change who he is. And I needed that. Yeah. I didn't have that, and I needed that. And He just gave me everything I needed. And God, so many answered prayers, and I'm just so thankful for my relationship with God, because throughout all of that, God has put me exactly where I needed to be, as far as that goes. Yeah. And it's funny because growing up, and I guess in our later so the backtrack, when I was married to my ex-husband, y'all were not yet saved, right? I mean, I'm okay to say that, right? Like, right.
Yeah.
And it was funny because we would go.
We're gonna clarify
I'm gonna do that. I know, but I feel like that I'm talking down, and I don't mean to like y'all were not saved. Like I don't mean it like that. It was before they came to know Jesus. Like, that's how I should word that, so it don't sound like condescending. You weren't saved.
No.
You know, I feel like my father coming at me there, but no. Sorry, Dad. Love you. But no. And I remember we would go visit y'all, or when we would see y'all a couple times a year, and it was hard because y'all lived a whole different lifestyle
What was that like?
than I did.
And the
Yeah.
the Golden Star auntie with like hippie
Yes.
sister-in-law.
Yes.
Zoe and I thought the world of you, as you know.
I loved y'all
Every-
too.
We were like,
I prayed for y'all so much too. I did. God, Lord Jesus knows. I was like, but we would go over.
Pray for you.
And Kim and I would classify y'all. This is just my classification. And tell me if I am way off, as spiritual.
Yeah.
Spiritual, not you know.
Yeah.
They were very like goddesses, and or not, maybe not Greg, but you. I would hear. I'm not going to put Greg in that. But they weren't believers, and I did. And so I think that was like part of our, for years, it was hard because, you know.
You'd hear her talking about like, you know.
New Age theology.
Yeah.
Yeah,
a great
yeah,
way to say
there
it.
we go. Perfect. Yeah, New Age, yes. And I'm like, no, you need Jesus. Like, I'm thinking in my brain, like, no, she needs Jesus. Like, this is, you know, but she wasn't hearing it. And you have to wait, you know,
What
on
was
God's
that
timing.
Like, did you have those conversations together? Like, would she say like,
I can only remember one.
I can only remember one too.
I wonder if it's the same
I
one.
wonder.
well, what? Tell it.
Yeah, what was your
No,
version?
you tell me your version. I want to hear your version.
Well, my
And
version.
see if it's the same story. It might not be the same conversation. I'm
I
curious.
know, I wonder. My version was we were in, I think it was Gwyneth's room in your house when you guys were beside Riverheads. Mm-hmm. And we were on the floor with the kids or something. And you just directly looked at me and asked me, have you accepted Jesus Christ as your Lord
That's
and
the
Savior?
conversation. Yep, okay, yep.
And it was like lightning went through my body.
Dang.
Like got mad?
Yeah.
Yeah.
Because it was so like, I felt,
And like,
well, it felt judgmental to me.
Yeah, and it probably came off that way.
And
yeah.
I was like, how dare you attack me?
Yeah.
Now, mind you, like go back, you know, I grew up in a Catholic church. I was kicked out of the Catholic church at 13. So the whole messaging that I got forever, and I was broken by it because I've always felt God in my life. And so just like having to leave all that and then feeling that whole abandonment, you mix that in with like childhood and everything.
Terrible way to approach it for me.
You know, I was just
sorry.
like, it felt so, it felt like an attack, and I didn't know what to do with it. And I felt like that was the severing of our relationship. Like we were so close for so long, and that just shut every single door.
Yeah. I definitely did not approach
Until
that that
Zoe.
way.
Yeah.
yeah.
And I did not, yeah. And
Was that the
That's
same?
question you want to ask people that you love and care about is like,
just,
can you do
I have since found more tactful ways to approach things.
Is that the same conversation though?
Yes.
Yeah. Okay.
Yes.
That's interesting.
How do you
yes.
respond?
I'm sure I said no.
You're like, no, I'm trying to remember
I
what you
remember
said.
how I said it, but I was just like,
you were like,
I believed in I believed Jesus walked the earth, but I did not. What does that mean?
Yeah, Savior.
Have you accepted the Lord Jesus Christ as your Savior? What, like, if you don't have any concept of it,
I remember when someone
doesn't-
asked me
what does that
question,
mean?
and I was like, sure, that's what you want to hear. Yes. It was
Right.
Pastor Tyler. He came over right before Zoe was going to the hospital, and he brought me aside. He was like, Sophia, can I talk to you? And I was like I knew it was coming.
And you're like, I don't want
the
to deal
whole
with this.
idea of God made me really mad too, because I didn't know what it meant. I didn't know anything. And he took me aside and he said, before I leave here today, I just want to know, have you accepted the Lord Jesus as your Lord and Savior? And I was just like, yep. Like, sure. Like,
Just, I want this conversation to end.
Yeah, I just
Like,
wanted it to end, and it was.
And that's a good way for it to end, because if I say no, then you're going to say a lot more, and I don't want to. I don't want to hear it.
I don't want to hear it. And I said, yeah. And he was like, great. And then he was like, well, I can leave here today. I can leave here today knowing that everybody in this room is going to heaven. And I was just like, I didn't really know what to think. And I love Pastor Tyler. Like,
Right.
he's amazing. And at that moment in that time, in that place, like right before my sister was going to the hospital, that was just not the question I needed to hear. But I was mostly bringing it up to kind of just relate to you. Like, that question is so, like,
It's scary.
it's so scary.
It's
because
life
the
altering.
idea
You
of-
don't.
The idea of God is like, if you don't say yes, you're going to hell.
Yeah, it almost, and that probably, yeah, I am sure I was a teetotal, like, I did not say it right. I am 1,000% sure. I'm so sorry. I've never apologized for that. I do now.
I've waited for.
You know, I just, and I was probably, honestly, and I'm not defending myself.
We know where your
But I
heart
feel
was.
like, no, I feel like I was probably still a baby Christian then. Do you know what I mean? Before you learn, like,
Yeah.
you know,
And you want your
an
sister-
evangelist can look at you sometimes and say it, and you can feel like, okay. But when your sister's saying it, I'm not, I'm not Billy Graham. I'm probably not the one to be asking you like this, So, I feel like, because I feel like the kids were little. Am I right?
Yeah,
You
By
said you
saying
were on
that?
the floor with them.
Yeah,
And
we
go
were
to
on the
str- yeah,
floor
and
with
we
them.
were at my old house, so yeah, definitely they
we
were
were little.
young. So, I was a baby Christian still, and I feel like I'm still, we're always growing. I'm like a toddler still, probably, and up to, we've always got things to learn, but yeah.
Yeah.
So after that
Sorry.
point, you felt like at that
And that was
point, you
hard
were like,
because we had two different spiritual.
Paths. We
Paths.
had different lives. Yeah, it was really hard.
yeah.
Yeah, I mean, it's just, it was, but we still never not communicated.
Yeah,
we
we-
just didn't communicate much, but it's not like I went a year without talking to her. But now, I mean, I was on FaceTime with her yesterday for 2 hours,
Right.
like,
Yeah, so how did that redemption, like, I think your siblings are, I mean, of course, I can say this with so much emotion because I don't have mine physically, but siblings are like, they are the ticket you have your whole life to a relationship, like to friendship, to have a best friend, to all this stuff. And like you said earlier, it takes two to, you have to have two people in that to make it beautiful. But like, when I look at you guys, I see a redeemed sisterhood, redeemed friendship, redeemed family. So like, how did I know that Christ is at the center of it, but like,
Absolutely.
how did that go from you guys just having completely different lives to, becoming close again? Like, what was that like? I know there's a lot of our story of you and Daddy separating, Zoe going through cancer. I know, Karman, you were there so much through that journey, but I would love to just hear your guys' perspective during that.
I think things when the snowball started rolling was before Zoe got sick. Was we remember the shopping trip I took y'all on?
Yeah.
Kim, we had talked like a week or two before. I don't remember when before y'all went. We went on the shopping trip when y'all were younger. And she's like, "Your nieces miss you. They want time and Karman time." I guess y'all were. I don't know. That's and I was like, okay, I'm going to take them shopping one day. I need to spend more time. And then I'm feeling like, I've missed so much. There's just, and I've always had excuses and always blah, 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 And a lot of that, and not an excuse, but like just in my mind an excuse, if that makes any sense, was I'm in a crappy marriage. I got other fish to fry right now. I don't have time for everything else. Like, I'm just trying to figure my life out.
Yeah.
and navigate and get my kids grown up old enough to where I feel comfortable leaving my husband. And that's been in my mind for years, and it's something I've suppressed for years. I knew it.
Wow.
And so that was my reasoning for like, I'm too busy. You know, that wasn't my outlet. And I remember though, she called me, and it was the way she worded it was like the way I worded it to her in the bedroom that day, like, your nieces miss you. And I'm like, oh crap. I'm a crappy aunt right now. Like, I miss, and then you start getting the things like, I didn't go to this, I didn't go to that, I didn't go to this, I didn't go to that. And then you feel guilt. And I'm like, I'm going to take them shopping. Okay. She's like, that'd be great, because I hate to shop, and you love it, and this, that'd be great.
I still remember that day so
I do too.
well.
I do too. I remember almost everything about that day.
You gave me the best shopping advice. Like, we had gone to like
Oh, I
Target,
did.
to Athleta, to all this stuff, and
At Short Pump,
At
yep.
Short Pump, and our last stop was Lululemon, and we went in, and
gosh.
this was like the first store like you had actually started looking around at like a lot of things, and
I tried to let y'all shop that day.
Yeah, it was so wonderful, and we were looking at stuff. And you know, Lululemon's like so expensive. And then I saw you pull a coat off of one of the hangers and try it on. You're like, what do you girls think? And I was like, that looks awesome, Aunt Karman. And you were like, yeah, I think I'm gonna get it. And I was like, wow. And I was like, you really haven't gotten anything, Aunt Karman. You were like, well, sometimes it's better to spend more money on the really good thing than a bunch of money on all the little things. Like, to buy that one good thing instead of a bunch of, you know, cheaper things. And I was like, wow.
I don't remember saying that, but that does sound like something I'd say. Like,
no, that was
I'd
such a fun. Anyways, that's a
yeah,
tangent, but
I'd rather have one nice thing than a bunch of little, not, well, sometimes.
Yeah,
Sometimes it's like, well, no, I really like that. And it's only $5, so yeah.
Yeah. Exactly.
Yeah, but no, yeah, no.
So you took us shopping.
I took y'all shopping, and I just was like, this is the best. This was so good. This was so fun. And and Gwyneth, my daughter, went with us, and we just had the best day. It was so fun. And I remember you, side note, I was like, let's go sit down and go get some lunch. You know, let's go to the Cheesecake Factory and get some lunch. And you said, and I think you put your hands together just like that and went, I would kind of like rather spend my time shopping than eating. So can we just go to like Auntie Anne's over here and grab a pretzel and keep shopping? I was like, okay, if that's what y'all want to do, it's your day. Let's go. Which I was funny. I thought, for one, I was shocked that you wanted to go to Auntie Anne's, because it was like, you know, not gluten-free, not whatever, but you know, whatever. Okay, we'll go. And lemonade, okay, whatever. I mean, I was going to take you to Cheesecake Factory. We'll sit down. She's like, no, I want to shop. And I'm thinking, and I think I even said, your mom really doesn't take you shopping. You're like, nope. So she was not going to waste more than 5 minutes eating. Anyways, that was funny.
I love it.
So yeah, and I think and then I think slowly, I don't know, maybe you disagree. I don't know. I'd like to know your take, but I feel like that's how the snowball started rolling. Like, then we started talking more again, slowly, because that was only a year or two before Zoe got sick.
I think it was the year before.
Yeah, about to say, I know it was within 48 months or 24 months of her getting sick. And we started talking more, and like we went out and had like, we went out we started talking more. I think that was the beginning of the beginning of the mending for me.
So I think the one of the things that was hard after the, you know, have you accepted the Lord Jesus Christ as your Savior comment, was that then what preceded that, or preceded? Wait, is that the right word? Comes after?
Came after? Not preceded.
Not precede, because but
just came out.
yeah,
Followed.
came after.
Followed.
Oh, yeah, thank you. What followed that was that then I didn't get to do anything with your kids. Like, I would call all the time, can I take them strawberry picking? Can I take them for a hike? Can I do things with them? Because I wanted to experience life with them and be an auntie. Nope, all the time. And I couldn't understand it. Like I didn't understand why I couldn't be a part of their life unless it was in front of you. Like, unless it was on your terms. And to me, the languaging that came with that was, well, it's because I'm not a Christian.
No, and it wasn't that.
So
But that's interesting to hear that. Okay.
So my whole thing was that it was because we weren't a Christian and we didn't do life the way that you did life. So then the conversations, the narrative got deeper and deeper. Why would anybody ever want to be a Christian if you're shamed so much? So it just drove me like further and further away from this whole, idea of being a Christian,
What's your side of that? I'm so curious.
No, I that floors me, but that makes so much sense that you took it that way.
Yeah.
Or that you felt that way, not took it that way. You felt that way.
Yeah. Because everything started like getting more and more distant after that conversation.
No. Yeah, I mean, 1 and 1 make 2 on that for sure. But that's not how it was. So that's so funny. This is, I love hearing that because I was in a bad marriage. I clung to my children. I put everything into my kids, and I'd like to think I still do to this day, even though they're 18 and 17 years old. I mean, they were and a lot of times when people would take my kids away from me, not take them away, but like if they went somewhere or something, not all the time. I mean, but I was enforced. I didn't have them, and they were like my security blankets.
Your distraction.
They were my distraction. I mean, I love them, and I don't want to say like because I wasn't like using them. Like, I mean, you know what I mean. I don't know. I didn't want to be alone with. I had no desire to be alone with my husband.
Yeah.
And my kids were I mean, I'm not saying we didn't go on dates and stuff like that. At the time, we did. I'm sure. I know we did. But not many that I can remember, and maybe I'm wrong.
That was too scary.
No, and so for me, like if you took my kids away, it wasn't because you weren't a Christian, but like I said, I can see that. It was because, I mean, I hid all this from everybody. Nobody knew this. The only person that knew pretty much how I was feeling was my good friend that actually sent me to the revival, or talked me into going to the revival. So, yeah. She knew everything. She saw things. She's heard things. She knew why I was doing what she knew. I just never had to explain it because she told me I needed to get a divorce. And I'm like, oh my gosh, I have 2 small kids. What are you talking about? No, like, I'm fighting it. I'm like, no, he'll change. Our marriage will get better. I'll change. I mean, I'm not saying I'm perfect by any stretch of the imagination. I'm not sitting there like it's a perfect little Stepford wife and no. And I don't want it to come across as that because nobody's perfect. But yeah, for me, I mean, it's just very interesting to hear that no, and I'm sorry that, that I made you feel that way, but that's not, that was not it.
Wow.
It was, you were taking my security blanket from me, and I didn't want to.
This is brand new information.
Yeah. But that all makes
It does. It all, and I see your view of it, and I can totally see where you thought that.
Yeah.
Totally. And felt that. Not even thought it, but felt it. Yeah.
So I just I felt myself, it was that old dialogue and habit of like, I'm not enough. I can't get anything right. I am the black sheep. All the things. Like
that you felt your whole life.
I don't know how to where's the end? How do I get the end? And so, yeah. Because I wanted to be an auntie. Like, I wanted to auntie them so badly.
You did.
But then fast forward to, what we were saying a little bit ago, to the shopping thing. Because the girls loved you so much. They adored you. And there was some jealousy in me of, because I would let them be with you. and do things,
would.
on occasion. And I'd be like, I felt like I missed, like I didn't get to do that. And that was probably the tone that was in my voice that day too, because the girls were really missing you. They always wanted to be with you. And I was just like, oh, why do you always have to want to be with her?
I get it. No, it makes sense.
And so like,
it's hard to hear, but it's true.
but it's true.
It's
And so you
true.
put all that aside and you're like, all right, what is right? Like, what is just the right thing to do? And the right thing to do is just, we have to, now, this is sort of like, what do you call it? Just like Christian lingo, like look at the person, not the sin, and, in that moment, it's just like, your kids, your nieces miss you. Like, spend some time with them. And so then that happened. And then Greg he was mentioning how after that, I think you did let them come over. It must have been several months later or something. And they did spend the night
They did.
at the farm. And we went kayaking. And
They
I
loved
was
it.
on freaking cloud 9. I was so excited. Like, I stocked the fridge full. Like, I
They were
made
so
sure, like,
excited.
all the things, I think you guys all slept in Zoe's bed or something, or
There's a picture of all of y'all in Zoe's bed.
something like that.
Yeah,
And we
I
went
think, yeah.
kayaking the next day.
Or all the kids.
It
died
was
for y'all.
so fun. It was like the moment that I'd been waiting for.
So that was kind of the beginning of your guys'
Yeah.
rekindling. It sounds like you guys
Maybe
started
even
to,
that,
to
yeah.
trust each other a little more, and then
Yeah.
It was a slow-moving snowball.
It
It
was.
was,
Yeah.
unfortunately,
I feel
but
like when Zoe got cancer, it changed.
Oh, it changed.
Everything.
That was like
everything.
everything.
The world
just-
stopped.
Like everybody's personal desires, everybody's stories about each other, everything went out the window, and it was just like,
because
we're
we're-
family, and we're gonna.
Yeah, and we're just like everybody else. Like, you never think that the thing is going to happen to you.
Especially to a 14-year-old child.
You think that you're invincible, and like all that kind of stuff happens to everybody else, whoever the everybody else's are, and
Yeah. No. Yeah.
and I think, and especially because of our upbringing and our life, where there's like indestructible, like we can do it, like we can fix everything, we can persevere through
We're
everything.
fixers.
And then all of a sudden
I can't fix this.
we can't, so we have to figure out how to love one another.
Yeah, Zoe was definitely. I mean, the big cat. Like she's the one she's the cliff the snowball fell over. And I mean, really,
Yeah.
for all of us, and for y'all, and I mean, and Zoe's in that time which she was sick. She brought so many people, and it's so funny because she was she had that childlike faith. She just. That you almost still wish I had, she was she had the childlike faith, but yet she was already, even though she was newly saved herself, she was so spiritually mature at the same time.
Yeah.
It's insane the seesaw she was. She had both, like, and it was a perfect balance, to me, in my opinion, and the fact that she. And like I said, in that, which seemed like eternity at the moment, but now you look back and it was what, like 6 months or 9 months? Yeah, okay. I was trying to think of I was thinking 6, 7 months. Yeah. How many people she brought to Jesus? How many lives she changed? How many people she brought that already knew Jesus that she brought closer to Jesus? That, you kind of get on a little, whatever. And just how many lives she changed.
And she brought our families back together.
How she mended families. The work that she was doing, God, it's awful. I mean, I hate we lost her, but there's a reason, and we'll be all joined with her again one day. But the lives that she changed, she did God's work. Laying down, she didn't have to move. I mean, seriously. You know what I mean? I mean, I know it's so but she did. She didn't move. And she was doing God's work. Like, I mean, just,
so true.
Which just proves you don't have to go. Yes, you should go out and do things, but don't use being not being able to literally not move to so you that God can't use you because he did. God, he used her. I mean, in such a powerful way. And yeah. And I think she was the one that brought us all together. I mean, and it's amazing how she could do it and just from a hospital bed, you know, and just a smile and just talking to you and just pray for me. Karman, I remember sometimes, you know, several times when y'all would go, like, and you would need a break because y'all were there, you know, everybody. And I would come down, I'd be like, y'all go take a break. I got it. I'll sit with her. And, you know, we just her and Karman prayed because she knew I was a Christian. And she would say, can you pray with me? Can you pray over me? Can you tell me about Jesus? Tell me more about, you know, and I'm like, oh my gosh, you know, oh, Lord help me, you know, just, you know, things that me and her would talk about privately and just then like fun little, just in such a dark time, her just being that big bright light and her even inspiring me to do better. So that's amazing. And then just our families, like, you need to get your crap together, you know, for like, I mean, you know, just y'all need to work your crap out and get over yourselves. Yeah. Because there's something bigger, all of you, you know, and it wasn't not one person. It was every single person that was there.
Anybody that walked in the house, it was just like,
get your crap together.
She just would look at
she would
just look at you and like so many words with just her eyes. I remember so many times I would be sitting there, her laying on my chest, you know, like nothing. Like like you said, she can't even move. And like telling her about my day at school and all this stuff. And she just the way she would look at me or respond to what I was telling her was just like a million words. Mm-hmm. Like she would just say, wow. That's insane. And behind that was like, you'll understand one day. You'll understand one day. You don't even know the bigger picture right now. You need to get over yourself. Like that's unwise. Like all of these things behind what she was saying. And hindsight, I can like totally feel it. And like, she was like, for me, she was like being my bigger sister as my little sister, just like guiding me intensely. And I think she did that for everybody. Like I remember Pawpaw even saying like how that journey changed him.
Oh, absolutely. It changed every single person in our family. I mean, and people that weren't in our family. And it just, I think it made us all better people. And it stinks that it took such an devastating, nobody wants to bury a child. Nobody wants to, you know, but it takes something like that to make people act like adults and, you know, and to get your crap together. But at the same time, what a blessing.
Yeah, I agree.
As sad as that sounds like, it's not like
it's hard to say that. Yeah.
You know what I mean? Like it's if I could, I'd have her here sitting on the couch right over there, or hell, sitting right here. I don't care, you know, wherever, you know. But at the same time, she was doing God's work, and you cannot change my mind. The only person that could change my mind would be Jesus, and. And I know daggone well, he's like, yeah, she was doing my work, and she did an amazing job. Mm-hmm. In that 9 months, how much when she got saved and just how much work she did and didn't hardly move. It's just astounding to me.
It's so inspiring. Yeah. It inspires me every day. Yeah. Well, I want to kind of pivot back to you, Aunt Karman, and just kind of like shining light on your story. Like, I know that you got a divorce after Zoe died. Do you feel like, you kind of mentioned that like your faith was increased and you felt like you were inspired to do better in your own life? Like, did that experience tie into you leaving your ex, leaving Todd, or like?
Yes and no. Yeah, actually, Zoe came. So I had. And I can't remember if it was February or March of that year, of 2022. I had went and got my first mammogram. and hadn't quite turned 41. I was 40, and they say get them at 40. Well, there we go. And I got a call back, and we see something. And, after your first, if you don't know what you're expecting, you're like, oh my gosh, like I'm freaking out, and I'm like, oh, I got to go back and get a couple more tests done, and granted, now I know it happens more often than not, especially on a first mammogram, is what I've learned. Anyway, but at the time I didn't know, and I'm terrified. And thoughts of Zoe, like just in the hospital. And I remember the night after I found out, I was still married to my ex-husband, and we were, we were in bed that night, and I was talking about it, and I think I was going to get tests the next day or a few days later. It was within a week, and he was upset, and he was like, I don't know what I would do without you. He was upset. And I just was laying on my back staring at the ceiling while he was upset. And I remember thinking, if I were to get sick, I don't want this man in my deathbed. I don't want, oh Lord. And I felt like, oh my gosh, what am I going to do? And I just remember thinking that if I die in the next couple years or year or whatever, who, oh gosh, oh my gosh. And that's kind of where that really, and lo and behold, I was fine. When I went back for tests and I was fine. Praise Jesus.
Yeah. But that thought in
but in that moment, I didn't know. And I was like, I don't want him here. I mean, I don't want him with me. Lord, you're going to have to help me out on this one. And he fell asleep. I think I was awake for 3 hours just talking to God, like, well, we got all these friends that we've accumulated over 20 years. We have, it's 20 years of stuff just packed together. And, oh gosh, my family knows nothing. I have shielded everything from my parents, they only had one person. Yeah. Well, at the time, another one, a person I used to be friends with knew about, she knew about some of the abuse. And
do you mind clarifying kind of what that was going on during that time?
There was just, it didn't there was a lot of infidelity on his part. It's the one thing I like I said, I'm not saying I'm perfect by any means. I would never say that. But I was being cheated on all the time. And I didn't know about ones that I only knew about 2. And then after you get divorced or when you separate, that's when people want to tell you things. Co-workers of his were telling me that people were telling me things, and I'm like, oh my God. And they're like, well, we didn't, couldn't tell you, he's my boss or he's this or, well, I just didn't want to get in the middle of it. You hear all the things, but things, but it made me feel validated in my decision. Yeah. And, I don't know. Where was I going with it? Just the 20 years. Sorry, my brain was, just the
infidelity,
it was
the accumulation of family, friends. How are you going to tell them?
How am I going to do this? Yeah. My parents don't know nothing. And, he would accuse me of things. And I'm like, I work with my mom.
Yeah.
I go straight home and I pick up I leave work and go pick up the kids from school at that time. The kids couldn't drive. When would I have time to do anything? Even if I wanted to, I'm with and I live beside my parents. Yeah. When would I do these things? I'm always, the kids are with me. They were still my security blanket. I'm with my family. I didn't have a job that would allow me to kind of just, I got to go off and do this or I got to go off and do that. I didn't have that. My mother keeps tabs on me. Like, I think I have a tracking device in me. But yeah, it was just hard navigating that. And I don't know. And then fast forward a month or two later, we had gotten in an argument, and I was in the shower, and I was like, and I will say in that interim, I thought, no, I'm going to try to fix this. I should not feel this way. This is not right. This is not what God wants. In my brain, then this is that night while I'm wrestling with God, God, when, the night of that I was talking about, I was back and forth. I was just,
So many voices.
all the voices, and I was like, oh, and yeah, and then a couple, so this was in April. I know that this was in April, so whether it be a couple weeks or a month later or whatever, we got in that argument. And he got out. We have a 2-person shower, and he was getting out when I was coming in. So he slammed the door and said some words, and I just was standing there, just looking. I don't think I said a word. He walked out, and I just was like, I can't do this. I'm done. God, I'm done. Mm-hmm. And I had that peace. But in that interim, I really thought I was thinking, no, I got to get one more chance, one more.
Because that had been your habit for.
Just nope. Let's keep trying again. Let's try again. Let's try again.
Years.
Marriages work. Marriage is the hardest job you'll ever have. I hear that from everybody. And it is. It's so hard. It's exhausting sometimes. It was then. I mean, not so much now, but it was then. And it was just, I almost felt like God say, like, well done, good and faithful servant. You tried.
Wow.
Let me handle it now.
Wow.
And you hear the saying, it's obviously not scriptural, that God don't give you any more than you can handle. Well, and I don't believe that. God gives you way more than you can handle.
So you can rely on Him.
So yes, exactly. So you can rely on Him. And I leaned into that in that moment, like, God, my cup is overflowing, but not in a good way, and I'm gonna need you to wipe it up and help me, because I can't do it. And yeah, and so it really tested and it was hard. It's so hard, because then you're like, am I making the right decision? Then you have.
And there's people that don't agree with you, and you're like, did I hear God right? All of this stuff.
Did I hear? Oh, that was a big one. Did I hear God right? Did I hear Him right? Is this what He was telling me to do? Was this?
But it's such a testimony of, like, you just staying faithful to God's promise, to God's, the Holy Spirit really guiding you through all of that, and just it's a testament to, like, where you are now. And all of the doubt and, the enemy just, like, really throwing confusion and so many whirlwinds at that time. It is such a testimony.
It is. And God is good. Mm-hmm. It stinks going through these, we all have our own paths, and we all have, and it's sometimes hard to be joyful when there's so much bad stuff going on everywhere else. You almost feel guilty for being joyful, but God tells us to be joyful. Lord, I'm going to pray for them, and I'm going to, but thank you for my blessings right now, but it taught me to lean on God and be joyful during these bad moments.
You are so good at that, I will say.
So
you are
good.
one of the people that are. I know that, internally you probably feel like you're throwing up half the time, but
not so much anymore. Now I'm good.
During that time, like, knowing you at that time, like, you were the joyful, happy, like, just always in a good mood auntie.
Yeah.
And that's, like, just, like, such a testament to your character and, like,
I know, when I told my parents, like, things that had happened, and just everything, it looked like I hit them with a slab of concrete. Like, I picked up, they're like, what?
Could not wrap their brains around it.
They couldn't. It was almost unbelievable, and, it just wasn't, it was two personalities that just didn't go together. And, nothing bad. It just didn't work. And I knew it wasn't going to work. It was toxic 2 weeks in. Before we even got married. When we started dating, it was 2 weeks, but what, you're in your 20s, and then, when we get married, he'll change, and I'll change, and we'll all be better. And sometimes it just
We're so eager to grow up.
right. Yes,
We're so eager to have the adult life because it looks so free.
right. I wanted nothing more than to get married and have children.
Yeah.
And to, I wanted that.
Yeah.
I wanted kids.
And then you realize, oh, this is actually much different
and harder.
It's
hard.
Yeah.
Yeah, I think that's something you kind of both went through because you felt the same way. And I want to be a mom. I want to be married, have a healthy marriage, all that stuff.
Yeah.
Wow, that's amazing. Thank you so much, Aunt Karman, for sharing your testimony, your walk, your just vulnerably, I know your story, but I've heard, a lot of new things today, and it's just, you're such an inspiring, and I'm so grateful to call you my aunt.
Oh, I'm grateful to call you my niece. Oh, I love you so much. Oh.
Okay, guys, thank you so much for listening to this podcast. We hope that you were encouraged and encouraging your faith, or just inspired in some way. And we would love for you guys to subscribe or follow us on our podcast pages. So thank you so much for listening, and we hope to see you again. Bye.